Hi all, my name is Sarah Brusky and I'm so excited to start teaching for Consider the Dog, coming up pretty shortly here. Of course, as soon as I get done making my materials, that is. But I just want to go ahead and introduce myself so that you know who I am when you start seeing my classes become available. I've been training dogs since I was 11 years old, professionally for the past 10 years or so. Now, I started with a Border Collie and I did agility and some really cool fun tricks with him, and he's what got me hooked on dog training. Basically, he kept me out of trouble. But I've been training dogs ever since and I absolutely love it. My specialty is sport dog stuff. So agility, frisbee, dock diving, all sorts of really cool things that you can do with your dog. Currently, I compete in Madia Ring, which is a protection sport. I compete in IGP, which is Schutzhund. That's the new name for Schutzhund, is IGP. I also compete in agility, dock diving, disc dog, and I'm training to compete in nose work as well. So I do a whole bunch of really fun things with my dogs, and partly that's because I have a lot of dogs. I have 13 dogs to be exact, but they're just like everybody else's pets. They cuddle on the couch, they sleep in the bed. Sometimes they drink out of the toilet, sometimes they steal out of the trash can, sometimes they steal food off the counter. Yeah, they are naughty just like everybody else's pets are. Now, my dogs do a whole bunch of different sports because they are all individuals and they all excel at different things. So I have Belgian Malinois that really do great at the protection sports, IGP and Madia Ring, and then I have the dogs I love to compete in agility with. I have my Border Collies, my Border Collie mixes, my Australian Coolies. Now, I actually breed that breed, so I have Australian Coolies. I have 5 of them and I have produced a couple of litters. They are really a cool breed if you haven't heard of them before. Really old, they were developed out in Australia. Very independent, hard-headed dogs that really excel at sports because they're really athletic and super fun to work with. Really interesting breed, but they can be a little bit challenging as well. I have a little 6.5-pound Papillon who loves to do dock diving and agility, and he's a really cool disc dog as well. I also have a rescue Boston Terrier Shih Tzu mix. In fact, half of my dogs are rescue dogs, and they really do prove that every dog has the potential to be amazing, and that's what I'm trying to advocate. One of the biggest questions I get asked is, why do you have so many dogs? Nobody needs 13 dogs. And that is absolutely true. I actually perform with my dogs in dog sport shows around the country. So halftime shows, as well as shows for the public at like Purina Farms, for example. And these shows are designed in a way to convince people to go home and play with their dogs. Get their dogs off the couch, no matter where their dogs are from, and expose them to all sorts of different things, get them active, get them learning, because I really think that a lot of behavioral problems can be solved by getting those dogs involved in something maybe they were bred to do or maybe they weren't bred to do, but getting those dogs involved in something and channeling energy in more productive ways. And so that's why I have all these dogs, is because they actually work for a living. They perform pretty frequently, right now almost on a daily basis, for the public, and really are great representatives of dogs from all sorts of different backgrounds. Now, one of the things that sets me apart from other trainers, especially in the protection sport area, is that I don't use very many aversives when I train my dogs. Meaning I don't use e-collars, I don't use prong collars, and I very rarely go into the punishment quadrant of training. And while that sounds great on paper, it presents some pretty unique challenges, making it really difficult to problem solve certain issues. And so while I stay away from those type of approaches, I really do love training with trainers from all sorts of different backgrounds and methodologies, because they have different ways of approaching things than I do, and they help me think outside of the box. So great training no matter which quadrant you train in, and I love to learn from all sorts of different people. Now that you've met me, I did want to share a couple of tips with you, some of the things I think about and I try to keep in mind when I'm working my dogs or even a client's dog. One of those things is that observation is really the biggest part of training. We have to see what our dogs are doing, interpret that, and then adjust our training plan accordingly. So my training is really developed around these observational points. I use a lot of loopy training. Now if you're like, what is loopy training? Is that crazy? No, it's something that's really cool. It's training in a methodical way where you can use different observational points to see how your dog is feeling. Are they getting stressed out by learning this new thing? Are they eager to come back and keep going? It's something that I really want to explain to you guys and really want to share with you. So I want to develop a whole video just on that. because it's a really important thing to get an understanding of. And once you start using loops in your training, you'll never go back. So I use a lot of loopy training, a lot of observational points to see how my dog is feeling about the session. The second thing is that every dog is an individual. So what works for one of my dogs, like one of my Belgian Malinois, isn't going to work for, say, my Papillon or one of my Coolies. Every dog is an individual, and I have to adjust my training plan and my expectations based on that dog. So I have some dogs that learn at an accelerated pace. They're exceptional dogs. They're brilliant. And I have other dogs that might take a little bit longer to learn the same task, and that's okay. They always end up at the same point eventually. But it's up to me as their trainer to adjust their training plan. I can't go into it expecting to use the same training plan for all of my dogs. I have to know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, or even if I stumble upon an unknown weakness, how to adjust on the fly. And so those are the two things I really keep in mind when I'm working my dogs. Observe, observe, observe. See how my dog is feeling about the session, and then always cater the training plan to the individual dog. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for hanging out with me for a couple of minutes, getting to know each other. I am, once again, super excited to start teaching for Consider the Dog coming up pretty shortly. Definitely keep an eye out for my classes. In the meantime, if you have any questions about what I'm going to be offering or about my background or, what I specialize in, definitely shoot me a message on Facebook. It's Sarah Brueske, Brueske, or send me an email at zoomdogtraining@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys all in the future. Okay, guys.